Good morning. Coach Chad Fregon with the Liberty Blue Jays. I'd like to thank you guys for coming out this morning for our weekly press conference. Last week, we beat Rockers 34-24 as part of our non-conference schedule. We are in kind of in the middle of a bunch of non-conference games here. That was the first one, and we play Park Hill in our non-conference schedule this week, and then Columbia Rockbridge the week after that. So have one conference game left against Blue Springs South, and just kind of in the middle of our schedule right now. It was a good win for us. I'd like to open it up for some questions. Yes?
How was your first win against Rockers in years? What was the feeling after the game?
It was a good feeling, and it was just mainly, regardless of how long it's been, just because it was a really good team that we beat. And kids were excited, the coach were excited, and I think the community and the everybody that was in attendance there that night was excited for it. But yes, it had been a long time. 1998 was the last time that we beat Rockers. It was at William Jewell. I was a freshman coach at that time and was on the sideline that night and still remember it. So I'm confident these kids will remember that night as well, well into their future. Yes? Sure. It was one of those games where we came out and did not get off to a very good start. Rockers received the ball and went down, had a 12-play drive that they scored on, took a lead. We did block the extra point, so it was 6-0. Then offensively came in and we had a 3-and-out, 3 plays, and had to punt and give the ball right back to them, which was, kind of scary because any time you get in a game, you hate to go down 2 scores early. And they had a big play right off the bat to their tight end. They got him down to about the 30-yard line, and then Tyler Baker forced a fumble, got in their backfield and forced a fumble. We got the ball back and scored a few plays later. Devin Bryant on a 4th-and-1 went 48 yards and scored and, got us back, so we were ahead 7-6. They got the ball back and scored right away, and again with no extra point. Then so it was 12-7 after that, and then Irvin Leonard returned to opening kickoff, so we were ahead 14-12 with really not doing very much on offense. We only had really one real positive play at that point, and we were able to have the lead. So we felt good. We made some defensive adjustments after that, and eventually got ahead. I believe it was 34-12 at one point. They did score a couple touchdowns late to pull within 10. They got an onside kick and did some things. They're an extremely good team and made some adjustments and did some things with that. But I was real proud of our kids with how they played throughout the game in all 3 phases. Our kicking game was good in that we blocked some extra points and punted the ball really well and had a kickoff return. Our defense really came on after the first couple of series, and somebody like Tanner Pendergrass had 5 sacks. Both Jacob Zimmerman and Alex Jimenez had 9, 10, 11 tackles in that range. Just a lot of tackles. Played really well, and forcing 2 turnovers was big as well. So that was huge. Offensively, we were really balanced. AJ Kamrick was 8 for 12 passing. Brady Newland had 2 long touchdown catches. Both of them, like 45-plus yard catches on those. And then both of our running backs had good nights. Devin Bryant had nearly 100 yards, and David Graves somewhere, 65 yards, somewhere in that range. So we were just pleased with how balanced we were offensively and being able to execute with out turning the ball over. And then as a whole, going from 9 penalties in our previous week, we had 1 penalty this week, which was a false start. And so we were real pleased with how we played in that area of the game. Yes, Alex?
After beating a team like Rockers, would you say we're starting to find a way back to where we want to be this season?
Yeah, I think so. And when you look at our record right now, we're 4-2, and we lost against, the 2 teams we've lost against are ranked in the top 5 in the state. So we know we lost to good teams, and we know that we could have played better during those games. So I think it's to the players and our staff that they made some adjustments and played a better game. Now, that's not a guarantee it's going to happen the rest of the year, and we've talked to the kids with that. We have a strong Park Hill team that we play this week over there on the road. So we know that we have to continue to do the things that got us to this point and have good practices and be able to go in there and do that. I talked to our kids last night. I read the Kansas City Star article with Coach Pinkel at Mizzou, and they played extremely well last week against Vanderbilt, and he credited all that he really felt they're going to, just because they practiced better that week. They executed in practice, had a little more focus, and those things, that's not a big coincidence. That's how things work, and we know we have to practice well this week and next week and the week after that if we can want to stay the same or if we want to keep getting better. Yes, go ahead.
What are you guys going to focus on going into Buck Hill?
Well, I think when you look at some of the things with us, we want to continue to become more diverse within our offense and execute our plays. And with that, being able to run and pass and do some things with that so that we're not predictable and be able to utilize our strengths on there. Defensively, continue to get 3 and outs. And that's what our coaching staff tries to do, not give up those 12-play drives like we did last time and get off the field. And then being able to win that third phase of the game, special teams. And, that's what we'll look at. Our game goals never change. We try to outrush our opponents each week. We try to win the turnover margin, try to win special teams. And we know if we do those 3 things, we're going to have a good chance of winning. We also have another goal. We try to we know that if we can score twice in 5 minutes, it's really hard on opponents. And we call that a big 5, and it's something that Coach Hansen did when he was head coach here. And we've tracked those throughout the year. We've had, if we can score and get the ball back within 5 minutes and score again, we know that also increases our chance of winning. So those are the things that we'll be focusing on this week. Yes.
How is your team different than the past?
Every team in this group of 104 players that we have in front of us is different than any of the ones we've had. This is a group that I think truly really enjoys playing football. They show up ready to practice. They have a good time. They enjoy being together and being out there. And that's not to say we haven't had that in the past, but that's one of their strengths that this group has. And it's by those 27 seniors that we have out there, and then goes on down, that really, we talk about energy all the time with our kids, and that energy that group has, like being around each other, like being there, it rubs off on everybody else. And that's one thing I really like about them. I also feel like they are kind of a group that's gone through some diversity and it's made them stronger. And whether that be losing a couple games this year in the middle of our schedule, or just going back a few years where these are some guys that were out there as sophomores and juniors that played kind of early, that took some lumps and knows what it's like to be on both sides of those scores. And I feel like that's something that maybe is, season them and experience them so they can react to things a little better as we go through our season. Yes.
How have you improved AJ's game throughout the year?
Well, I think if you look at with AJ Cambrick, if you just look at just completions, it's been up and down, and really has had just one game where he really struggled down at Lee Summit with that. But you take out a few snaps, he's done really well, and I think his thing is just becoming more comfortable within our offense and practicing better. We tell all of our quarterbacks, and you can't expect something to happen in a game if it doesn't happen in practice. And we have to be able to go out and make those completions on air, and then against a scout defense, and then a real live defense. You have to be able to do them in all those phases if you expect those to happen on Friday night when you have a opposing state-ranked defense across from you in a hostile environment on the road. So we expect our players, to work through that in practice so they can perform on Friday night. Yes. You bet. Tanner's a kid that last year spent most of the year on JV playing linebacker. He's not a real big kid, but he is extremely fast, extremely smart player. And he played some varsity toward the end of last year. And actually, at Columbia Rockbridge, when we played them last year, we lost in overtime to them. But he had a really big game with a couple sacks that kind of reminded me of what we had the other night. But during the Rockhurst game, he was a player where he found some things, or he was able to time some stuff up, and Coach Hansen had some defensive calls that were freeing him up, and ended up having 5 sacks, and really changed the game for us, defensively with that. And that's a credit to him, but it's also a credit to the rest. When you have a blitz in your front, 5, 6, 7 players, it's everybody doing their job, and Tanner was the one that was left unblocked. And sometimes we tell him we don't know which one of you is going to be unblocked, but somebody will. So be ready to go. And Tanner, to his credit, really took advantage of it and exploded into the quarterback or the running back, whatever he was hitting, and did a good job with his form tackles and really got them out of their offensive rhythm. So we were really pleased with Tanner and with the rest of our guys up front. Yes.
Who else stood out during the
Well, I mentioned earlier Tyler Baker had a forced fumble that was really big in that game, and did a good job with it. And we were just pleased all in all with how our kids defensively tackled after that first series. Devin Houston has battled some injuries. We feel like he's back right now, but he had he's really banged up last week and maybe didn't get as many tackles as he normally does, but he did a good job as a leader on the field out there at that. And then our ends, Cole Metcalf, Damian Brown, and then also Aaron Kelly got a lot of great snaps. Really gave them some trouble in there with that. When you look at offensively, like I said earlier, we've been really balanced. Our offensive line definitely controlled the line of scrimmage and was real pleased with how they blocked. We came in wanting to play physical, and when we go back and watch the film, we definitely did. It was a very physical ball game up front, and just real pleased with how our running backs ran the ball. And they ran downhill, they hung onto the ball, and protected it, and just a lot of yards after contact. We track that all the time with the running backs. Once they get hit, how many more yards they have. And both Devin Bryant and David Graves had a lot of yards after contact, and really proud of those two kids on how they, one, work together within our offense, and then just the spark they both provide us as an offense. Our receiving core has been so solid all year, and this week Brady had a lot of catches. Jackson Redmond had some catches, but at the same time, he had two times of pass interference with him, and they were really covering him well. So we're just pleased. Jacoby Swanson had a big catch on third and 9. He had a 20-yard catch. So it was one of those games where we were pleased with how we played, and we're challenging our kids this week to get better at each of their position groups. Yes.
Is there anything you want to see the guys do before the regular season ends?
Well, I think right now, looking at our goals, we have 3 games left, and we have 2 things. We look at our district standings and our conference standings. We know right now we're 2-2 in conference with 1 game to go, and with the Blue Springs South game later on. When you look at our district, though, every game goes into that, and we know as a team that we have to stay in the top 4 in our district in order to host a home playoff game. And with us only having 4 home games this year, that's been a big goal from our guys from the start, and we'll continue to look at that each and every week. We know the easy way to take care of that is to keep winning, so hopefully we can get on that page this Friday night at Park Hill. All right, I'd like to thank you all for coming out again today, and we'll see you next week.